gets the peace deal, we're going to start to find out that Obama, Hillary Clinton, and many others were involved in the Uranium One sales. They were involved in helping Iran establish their nuclear weapons. And everything is going to lead back to all of these people and beyond. Because, again, there are other people who are unelected who have been controlling the entire situation. Chris Bjorn put this out, and Trump retruthed it and says, Biden and Obama gave Iran over $220 billion to research and build nukes. Iran nearly had 6 nuclear bombs and the ICBMs that would have destroyed Israel and 5 cities in the U.S. Democrats were going to take away our fossil fuels so millions would freeze and starve to death. Democrats wanted to replace you with uneducated Mexicans who want to be easier to enslave. People who vote for Democrats are dumb and suicidal. So basically, Trump retruthed this, and it leads back to Biden, Obama, the deep state, and the D's. And this is pretty much everything that they were planning to do, which is very, very interesting. And let's see how this all plays out, because we can see how the Somalia fraud ring is playing out. That's pretty much run by Tim Walz, who is protecting all these people. But I do believe it goes far beyond this. They needed the individuals that had no idea what was really going on. These are the fall guys. But the real crime is behind this. Yes, this is just the beginning, and you're seeing the first layer. But actually, who was running this scam? It wasn't the Somalis. It was people behind the scenes. But I do believe we'll probably come out to find out who these people really are. But Trump, he put this out on Truth and says, and this is coming from Carolyn Levitt, and says, Representative Comer reveals 75% of Somalis in Minnesota are on welfare. The early numbers I'm getting in on the Somalis in Minnesota is 75% of the Somalis in Minnesota are on full government assistance. That's full welfare. So that is very, very interesting. And since they're on welfare, they're doing all the laundering. So this citizen journalist, Nick Shirley, decided, you know what? I'm going to go to these daycare centers and other places to see, who's at these places. And he uncovered 110 million in one day where they're funneling the money through all of these different areas, and there's nobody here. The houses are empty. There's no children. There's nothing. So it's one gigantic scam that we're seeing right now. And who's paying for all of this? The people of this country, because this is the way the scam works. You see, you're enslaved to the central bank system. The central bank system allows this fraud to happen because all they have to do, let's say when Biden was in office and / Obama, is, listen, here are the new programs that we want. Let's just get the money from the Federal Reserve. Oh, let me push a button. Hey, I just created the money. Okay, what do you need? Another trillion, 2 trillion, 3 trillion? Great. The D's, they vote for it. They get the money. That money then is sent to all the different agencies within the government. Each agency that is unelected, they decide, okay, this is going to go to this NGO, that NGO, that NGO. We're going to send this to Minnesota. We're going to send this to over here. The Minnesota government gets the money there. Then it's passed down to SNAP and all the other people through other NGOs. And it just goes on and on and on. This is what they do with all the money. It's not actually going to people that actually need the help. This is one gigantic money laundering scam. And what's very interesting about all of this is that since Nick Shirley came out with this information, he did a great job with this, none of the main fake news outlets actually investigated this and broke the story. It took a citizen journal to actually just go and look for himself. MAGA Voice put this out and said, not CBS, not PBS, not CNN, not ABC, not MSNBC, not Fox News, not 60 Minutes, not New York Times, not Washington Post, not Associated Press, but an independent journalist on X exposed millions of fraud with a hoodie and a camera. And he should keep going. He's doing a great job, actually, showing everybody. And once again, you could see this is all completely falling apart. It's being exposed to the people of this world. And you could see nothing's going to stop this. Now, they're going to try. They're going to do their best, but in the end, it will not work. Libs of TikTok put this out and said, Somali illegal Abdul Dahir Ibrahim, who was convicted in the Feeding Our Future Somali fraud scheme with his Democrat friends, Governor Tim Walz, Representative Ilhan Omar, Secretary of State Steve Simon, Minnesota Senator Tina Smith. It's one huge Democrat money laundering operation. And remember, it doesn't stop there. It's across the country. And you can see the judges right now, they're not even going to try to stop any of this. Eric Doherty put this out and said, multiple corrupt Minnesota judges are under fire for dismissing a flurry of recent Somali fraud cases. Millions of dollars stolen, but the conviction wasn't allowed because the judges say so. These judges won their recent races entirely with no opposition. Isn't that interesting? So once again, you could see where this is all going. And remember, it's not just the Somalis. It's going to be many, many other groups because, again, the deep state players brought in all these people to be the front men, and basically they've just been laundering all the money. C3 put this out and said, top 5 largest Somali communities in America. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, 86,000. Columbus, Ohio, 50,000. Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, 30,000. San Diego, California, 20,000. Portland, 15,000. But they're all riddled with fraud. Investigate them all, billions stolen from us. I think it's not even billions because, again, this is just the Somalis. Expand your thinking. It's going to be in the trillions in the end. Clandestine put this out and said, it's not just the Somalis in Minnesota. The Dems opened up our nation to anyone who would come here and vote for them in exchange for our tax dollars. They use shell companies to funnel public money to the immigrants, meaning we are slaves that fund people replacing us. Absolutely. Cynical Publius put this out and said, I'm not sure that most Americans understand that in large swaths of humanity, there is no actual concept of fraud, particularly fraud against the government. Instead, there is a belief in the virtue of getting away with what you can to help yourself and your tribe.
Let this soft mineral melt under your tongue to improve vision so you can say goodbye to your optometrist for good.
I spent a lot of my life in the Middle East and Central Asia, working closely with foreign contractors and foreign governments to provide support to American military operations. As a U.S. Army officer with a big checkbook courtesy of the Uncle Sam, I can't really count the sheer number of times I was offered bribes to award a contract or falsify records to do things like create larger fake headcounts at places like dining facilities or just simply be on the take for future illegal requests. Of course, I had enough sense to never comply with such requests. Moreover, they were never explicitly structured as bribes. Instead, it was usually along the lines of, here, I have these Rolexes as gifts for you and your wife to show your friendship. Unfortunately, too many of us U.S. officers, NCOs, succumb to the siren song and ended up breaking rocks in Leavenworth. The weird thing about this to me was that whenever I turned down such an offer, it was treated as a grave insult. I was the one in the wrong and not the fraudster trying to bribe me. They considered it rude that I was in their country and refused to accept how things got done. After all, why did I not want to help my tribe by helping their tribe? Let me repeat. In these cultures, fraud is not even a concept. There is only what helps you, your tribe. Such thought processes are so alien to Americans and much of the West. We are raised on the presumption that our institutions are valid, that the rule of law always prevails, and that integrity is universal. We need these presumptions to have working government and economies. And without those presumptions, without the mental barrier that causes us not to accept outright fraud, our nation would quickly descend into the economic and social hellscape of countries like Somalia. So when we import people en masse from cultures that accept bribery and fraud as routine, acceptable ways to advance one's tribe, we should not be surprised that these things like the 8 billion fraud schemes of the Somalia population in Minnesota happen so easily. Introducing a fraud-based culture based on tribalism into America is like introducing some sort of lethal virus into a population that has no natural immunity. The virus will spread and grow unchecked because it is so alien to the host. So when you see your patriotic Americans decrying what is happening in Minnesota or elsewhere, and when they speak deportation of the offenders, it is not racism. It is not bigotry. It is not xenophobia. Instead, it is preserving the American tradition of responsible institutions and national integrity. And that's absolutely true. So think about this. Why did they bring these people in here? Why specifically did they bring the Somalis in here? And many people from third world nations, because these people, they have no problem doing this. And those people behind the scenes knew this. It was done on purpose because they knew they would handle all this without giving it a second thought. Think about this for a second. And it's not just happening here. And like we said from the very, very beginning, all of this is worldwide. Mara Nafal put this out and said, over 1 billion Swedish kroner stolen, gone. Private schools and kindergartens that existed just long enough to collect government vouchers before the operators fled the country. Expressen, Swedish largest newspaper, investigation just exposed the entire network. Former member of parliament siphoned 12 million SEK through fake IT invoices. The money funded sex clubs in Thailand, luxury hotels, and his own Islamist political party in Somalia. A sitting lawmaker using Swedish taxpayer money meant for children's education to fund sex tourism and foreign political movements. Basically, you're seeing the same thing in other countries right now. That should tell you everything you need to know.